I'm Amy. I'm the Globetrotting Stitcher, and I'm back with you after a bit of a long gap in filming. Actually, it's not a long gap in filming. So we did film an update a couple of weeks ago, and right before I left town for my business trip. And unfortunately, the original tape of episode 41, the video, was missing. Lost in the ether somewhere. So Gary had like pictures and video of, or of sound and what have you, but I was noticeably absent, which causes a bit of a problem for making a video. So we are
the one that where she showed all her stuff.
Yeah.
That one.
That was the one that got away.
We lost that one. It's gone.
It's gone.
I know, because I formatted the card like nine times since, so it's gone. Maybe there's fragments, but it's gone.
It's not coming back.
It's gone.
So anyway, we are filming an update again as soon as we could, but with me traveling and other things that are going on, this is just the first chance we've had. So thanks for your patience. Sorry for the delay. So because it has been a good month since we shared an update with you, we'll just fill you in on a couple of quick life things and then get into a lot of stitching. It's basically going to be a WIP parade. I think every single project except one that we're working on in this house is going to be in this video, just because that's what we've been working on the last month. So Gary had we had 2 birthdays in the house. Gary's birthday was at the end of March, and so it was really fun to celebrate that. I think he did pretty well for as far as gifts for himself, and we had a nice family celebration. And then a week after Gary's birthday, it was Bear's birthday, which wasn't celebrated with quite as much fanfare. But Bear did get a nice long walk that day, which he was pretty happy about. So we did that. The other thing that we've had going on is spring is definitely in full swing here in the Seattle area. Lots of daffodils, lots of tulips coming up, and lots of yard work to go with that. So Gary and I are both at various times spending time out doing the typical spring cleanup and getting ready for summer tasks. I actually, I'm putting in a new flower bed, and I'm really excited because my plants for that, I had pre-ordered them. They all finally arrived. And so after we finish filming today's update, I get to go out and put in my new flower bed. So I'm really excited about that. I think the other update, and another thing that Gary's been super busy with work. So I was gone, and then Gary had several work projects going on while I was away. And so he actually photographed a wedding a couple of weeks ago. And so he's been working on getting those photos ready for the bride and groom. And I'm looking forward to kind of seeing them once he's put the finishing touches on. So excited about that. The other big thing, as I've already alluded to, is I had to go to London for work. And so I was gone for a little over a week. And I'll tell you more about that later in the video. I want to get into the stitching first for those of you that are more interested in just seeing that. But it was a really good trip, and so a lot of good things to share from that. All right, so stitchy stuff. We will start. I have a couple of finishes to show you. One is just a finish, and the other is a fully finished object. So we'll start with the FFO. And this is Celtic Autumn by Lavender and Lace. Those of you who have been watching our channel for a while will probably remember this. I actually finished the stitching on this design way back in January of 2021, and it has been sitting waiting to be fully finished ever since then. So I'll pull it up and show it to you, and then talk about the fully finished part of the finish. Okay. So here she is. Isn't she beautiful? I'm so pleased with her. I love her so much. I love how she turned out. So I stitched this on a piece of 32 count Earthen Belfast linen by Picture This Plus. And I use the Janet Granger conversion, which is the green and the orange and the gold color palette. The original design is charted in blues and yellows, and I preferred this palette much more for autumn. So as I said, I did finish this one well over a year ago now. And It took me a while to kind of decide. I debated whether I wanted to have her professionally framed or not. So that was part of the reason it took me a while to get her fully finished. And when I ultimately decided, no, I'm not going to have her professionally framed, I think I can do her myself. Then I decided that I did at least want to have mats professionally cut, because I wanted to kind of do something similar to some of the beautiful work that I've seen Jill Rensel do on these particular designs. And it took me quite a while to find a local framer who had the ability to do mat cutting with non-standard sort of style. So not just your basic rectangle or square or circle. I wanted to have the cutouts and, all of this kind of stuff. And so I did have to look around a while. I finally found somebody that was about 3 hours away who was able to do the specialized mat cutting for me. And then it took a couple of months, just because that happened to be during the holidays, at the end of 2021. It took a couple of months for them to get that done, get the materials in that they needed. So they went ahead and mounted the cross stitch for me, and then did all the mat cutting and put all of that together. And then I brought it home, and it took me a bit longer because I had to find a specialty or a custom frame that I wanted for it. And then that caused further delays, because when the frame arrived, I was not, what I will say is, if there's one bit that I'm disappointed with in this, is that when this frame arrived, the company that I had ordered it from did not do a great job of where they cut for the corners. And I know that can be challenging on an ornate frame. I was not expecting perfection. But if you see the corners close up, they do not match up. At all. There was no attempt made to kind of make those corners look like they worked well together. And so I did have a fair bit of back and forth with the company about that. Unfortunately, it was something that they just refused to make right. And so I won't be using them. I won't be ordering from them again. But I decided to, because I had paid a fair bit for the frame, to go ahead and use it. So while I'm not 100% satisfied with how it turned out, I do think the frame looks nice with this. I'm probably the one, I'm probably the only person who's going to be bothered by the imperfections in the frame, and standing back and looking at it, it is beautiful. So mostly happy with this. And I think that it all works really well together. So I'm glad to finally have this fully finished. And I'm really looking forward to being able to put this on the wall and display it for the first time in later this year in the autumn. So that is my FFO on Celtic Autumn. Okay, the other piece I have to show you is another finish that has been a long time coming. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have already seen this, so it won't be a surprise. But just because it's been a while since we did an update, I am really delighted to tell you that at long last, I have finally finished my Fancy Lady. And I'm all done with Royal Holiday by Mirabilia. So I stitched this on a piece of 32 count Laurel linen by Witchell using all the called for flosses. So let me show you where she is. The last time you saw her, I knew I was closing in on a finish. I had just cloak left to finish, but it was, there were some red sections and some of the fur and the ribbons. And so this is how she turned out. Trying to be careful with her because I've got her washed and ironed and ready to go. Isn't she gorgeous? I'm so happy with how she turned out. I think she's just stunning. I think she's so, so beautiful. So this is a design that I have been stitching with. This has been a stitch along, and I started it after I finished Celtic Autumn in January 2021. So this was originally a stitch along between Sarah, who is Stitch Addict on Instagram, and me. And we had actually stitched Celtic Autumn together as well, and enjoyed it so much that we wanted to stitch another piece together. And so we stitched this together. And I do want to pause just to say a huge congratulations to Sarah, because she also finished her Royal Holiday here within the last week or so. And if you haven't already seen that on Instagram, I encourage you to go check it out, because her finish was just beautiful. So really excited that we both started it together and then finished it together. Our hashtag for that stitch along is USNZ Royal Holiday Sal. And as many of you may know, there are a number of other stitchers who joined us along the way who will still be continuing on with the hashtag. Sarah and I are going to be watching their progress and cheering them along. So one of those is Lynn, who is Lancashire Stitcher. You're going to be hearing a lot more about her later in the video. Also, a couple of folks who are showing progress on Instagram. That's Nancy Duquette, Kate, the Scottish Stitcher, and Andreas Schweikart. So this one, I can't say it's always been a joy to stitch. There were times when this one felt like a real slog, but I am really pleased that I'm very happy that I stuck it out. I'm really happy with how she turned out. And this is one that I have decided to send out for professional framing. I think she's worth the extra splurge. And because I do all of my own finishing on pretty much everything else, I think this is one that I want to invest in some professional framing for. So I will be sure to share her with you when she comes back. But there she is, all finished up, and I'm so delighted with her. All right. The next thing I have to share with you is my sampler. And I am stitching Floralia Sampler by Chloe Remy Designs. Let's see. This one is, as it gets bigger, it gets harder to show. Stitching Floralia Sampler by Chloe Remy Designs. This is being stitched on a piece of 36 count Aqua Edinburgh linen. And I am stitching it in a monochromatic color palette using DMC 3808. So the last time you saw this was when I came home from Nairobi. This is a piece that I took with me on travel because it's monochromatic. I felt like, and it's motif, it's all motifs. It just really lends itself well to stitching while you're on the road. So the last time you saw this, I had stitched about halfway across the bottom of the bottom border, and then I had finished all of the stitching in the bottom left corner. So let me show you where it is right now. Here we go. So this one is, let's see, there. This is one that the stitching, the rotation for the week that I worked on this in my rotation happened to fall during the week that I traveled to London for my business trip. So even though I did take it with me and worked on it here at home and then also worked on it for a while on my trip, it's a piece that it just, given the constraints of travel and I lost some of my normal stitching time, I didn't get as much progress on it as I normally would, but I did make some good progress. So you can see I'm almost all the way across the bottom now on this border. Very, very close to having that bottom border totally finished. I also stitched in this little sort of like mini cornucopia with a flower in it. I finished the letter T. I finished the letter Y. I started the U and did this little floral spray here. And then I started working on the last of the cherubs. So pretty decent progress despite not a lot of stitching time. And I'm really excited because although I don't think this one will get finished the next time it comes out, I think I can get it pretty close to the end. So this one has been with me. I started it last summer and I'm excited because I'm looking forward to the next sampler start that I will have, but it feels like I'm closing in on the end here with this and I'm really pleased with how it's coming along. All right. The next piece I have to show you was a new start the last time you saw it, and this is my seasonal stitching. I am working on, what's it called? Harvest Delivery by Plum Street Samplers. And this was, like I said, a brand new start the last time you saw it. I'm stitching it on 36 count Bee's Knees linen by Seraphim. Which is a dream to work on. It's a lovely fabric. Cannot recommend highly enough. Really enjoying it. And so all I had done, I had only worked on it a day or two the last time you saw it. And so all I had done was start to put in some of the little bits and bobs and flowers, but not a lot of progress. And so this is where it is now. So again, not a ton of progress, but fairly decent progress. So as I said, this I took also with me on my trip. And this ended up being another really busy trip. I had a couple of days where I didn't get to do any stitching at all. We had really long days, some really late nights. But it was a really productive time, and it was a really good set of meetings. So, but as you'll see, I finished stitching in quite a bit. I'm almost done with all of the sort of the flowers and these, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of botanical elements that are in this little black cart down here. I've got the outline of the pumpkin done, and I'm starting to fill that in. And then also started working on this pumpkin over here. One thing I will tell you about this is somewhere along the way, I had a miscount. And so this little black cart that I've started stitching down here was badly off, along with a fairly sizable section of some of the other stitching. And it was bad enough that there was no way I could just fudge it. I had to frog it. And for some reason, I just was having the worst luck with getting those stitches counted out correctly. I ended up stitching it in and frogging it out 3 times before I finally got it correct. And what made that even worse is that when I travel, I do not take scissors with me, just because when you're doing international travel, different countries have different regulations and of what they will and won't let you take in your carry-on. And I only ever travel with a carry-on. I don't check a bag. And so I just don't bother risking losing a pair of my stitching scissors, and I just use nail clippers. So I had to do my frogging with nail clippers. And let me tell you, that was an adventure. I was super stressed out. I was like, oh my goodness, I hope I don't cut this fabric accidentally, because nail clippers are not exactly precise. And at one point I even considered just putting it away and saying, I'll work on something else I have with me and fix this when I get home. But then my stubborn side came out, and I decided to just power through it, got it done, no damage to the fabric. And so, yeah, it's coming along. Despite that, I did find this really to be comfort stitching. Really am enjoying it. And so looking forward to working on this again the next time it comes out in my rotation. Okay. So let's take a second, because Gary has a couple of WIPs that he is going to be showing you. So the first is a stitching WIP. As many of you know, Gary is working on Captain America. This is a design by Awesome Pattern Studio. Here it is. Having a little bit of a technical. Here we go. He's stitching on Captain America by Awesome Pattern Studio, which is an Etsy shop. And he is stitching this on a piece of 16 count pewter Aida. So I'll hand it over to Gary to tell you about what's been going on with this one.
All right. Well, I think what it is sometimes you have to walk away from something in order to really appreciate it. And that's the case with me in this particular cross stitch design. So we fixed whatever the problem was in the elbow. I'll show you what it looked like and how it looks now. You can see that it's actually it's in the wrong space. It should be down in one, which threw everything off. But then we finished the shoulder, and then I did the clouds to the right, and got about halfway done and realized it was the wrong gray. I looked at the right number, but grabbed the wrong thread. Is the way that went. So I had to frog all of that out. So put that back in, and then you can see off to, I guess, what would be your left. I guess, I don't know. I'll use an arrow. You'll see. I'm starting the second page. So actually, the first page of this is done.
Woohoo!
So we're not sure if we're going to fill in the star and the A and then a couple of other areas with a white color. But the first page is done. There's only 3 more pages. I'm on the next page over, which we'll do is do this side of him. Anyway, that's where I am with that. Hopefully I'll keep the bug and finish this thing. It's really nice, but it's somewhat, for me, it was complicated. And I think I made it more complicated than I need to because I didn't use, what are those called, a counting pin? If you just take the pin and you count them over and you leave it there and then just sew where it is, it's a lot easier than trying to do that with your head and fingers, especially when the boxes are so small. Anyway, use a counting pin. Outside of that,
that's from your Uncle Gary, kids.
Yeah, no, I am nobody's uncle. What is it? What is it? Anyway, and then there was I've been working on this guy too. It's not quite done yet, but I got more pieces on it. I've got to get this whole section down here working correct. I'm not sure if you can see the motion there, but I got to get that all set up right. But once this is all connected, when I do that, I don't know if you can see the teeth moving, but when I do that, the globe will move too. Anyway, so that's where I am on this one. And I'm not sure if I'll ever show another model that I'm doing, but this is where I am on this one. Anyway, you can see this is where it'll plug into whatever the power supply is, and then there'll be a light inside the globe. Anyway, so that's where this is.
I'm super excited about that. I think it looks so awesome.
It's real neat, like.
Real neat, like.
Anyway, so that's all I have to say. I got nothing else.
You got nothing.
I got nothing.
All right.
All right.
Couple more WIPs from me, and then we will move on. So the next thing I'm going to show you is my full coverage design. I am stitching Rose Trellis in by Heaven and Earth Designs on a piece of 28 count white Lugana, 2/1 with half stitch. I've actually worked on this twice since the last time you saw it, so there's a little bit more progress than normal. And when we showed you this at the end of March, I was almost finished with the stitching in sort of the tower, and had started working on the siding, and was stitching in there's these windows in the roof line, and then there's a balcony with windows and little shrubs and stuff. And so I was starting to get into that section, but most of that you were really just seeing the beginnings of it, not really stitched it in yet. That's probably super confusing. I hope not though. Here's where it is right now. Look at that. Super excited about it. So a couple of things on this. I crossed a major milestone with this this last time, or as I've been stitching on this over the last couple of weeks, and that is I passed 100,000 stitches on this. So the chart in total, the design in total is about 220,000 stitches. So I'm not quite 50% done, but when I hit 100,000 stitches completed, I just felt like it was such a huge milestone in the process. I was so excited. I actually took my phone out and took a picture from of the numbers in Pattern Keeper showing me at 100,000 stitches, because it was really exciting. So as you can see, I finished stitching in this window and then started moving over here, and I've started stitching in down from here. Got quite a bit of this cornice work done here. Have finished this tower, finished this section of the siding, and started stitching in this little shrub that's in a pot. Also, made good progress on stitching in this window here. This past week, I've been working on this little floral kind of arrangement that's at the bottom of the shrub. Let me tell you something. That is like, when you talk about confetti hell, that is confetti hell. If Satan's hind parts decided to create a cross-stitch chart to torment the souls of wayward stitchers, that is how it would be charted. It was like, there's like 25 different colors in there, and they're all single stitches. It was horrific. And I'm not done yet. And there's a whole bunch more of those things coming up. It took me like 3 or 4 hours to do 250 stitches, just because that's how bad the confetti is. It was terrible. I think it's worth it and it's beautiful, but that's the worst confetti stitching I've ever dealt with. It was absolutely awful, but that's okay. I am enjoying how this is coming together. I'm really loving seeing it continuing to emerge, and so totally worth it. But that's where we are on this one right now. Okay, just a couple more things to show you. So the next one is my weekend stitching. As you know, I have a design that I work on. I try and work on it every weekend. It's actually been several weeks since I've touched it just because travels, so I'm hoping to get back to it. But I am working on Butterfly Port Mauve by Heaven and Earth Designs, stitching on a piece of 28 count white easy grid Lugana. And again, because this is predominantly, because I don't get a lot of stitching time on it, and because it's a very background heavy piece, it's kind of impossible to describe progress. What I can say is the last time you saw this, I had put in about 1,500 stitches in total. I'm now at around 2,500. So let me show you where it is right now. Oop. So again, all the way across the top of page 1 right now, and then working my way down. So yeah, the colors are pretty. That's about all I can say about it. One thing that was nice was that on our last, I think the last time we showed this, someone had left a comment saying that they saw this, me working on this, and it inspired them to start the companion chart, which is Butterfly Port Peach, which I also have in my stash. So I thought that was really fun that somebody else was going to be stitching on that one. And I'm hoping that I'll get to see some updates on that as that person works on it, because I'm not going to get to that chart for who knows how many years. And so I would love to see somebody else working on it and how that one is stitching up. But that's where this is. All right, so the last WIP we have to show you today is my travel stitching. I am stitching on Seasons Summer by Lila's Studio on a piece of 32 count vintage Sahara linen by Zweigart, using all the called for flosses. So the last time you all saw this, it was a brand new start, a really brand new start. I actually started it when I was on my way home from Nairobi on the flight between Amsterdam and Seattle, and I started it on the plane. And so I had stitched in part of a quilt star and part of a bird, and that was it. I've had quite a bit of progress on it since then. So this is another one that did go to London with me, and it got to see a good bit of love. And here's where it is right now. So you can see it's well over halfway. Well over halfway. So I finished the white quilt star, finished the bird. I'm fairly close to finishing this big flower arrangement, and I've started stitching the pot. I've also stitched all the flowers and leaves down here and started stitching the bottom border and the word summer. And then I've come over and started working on the flowers on this side. So quite a bit of progress. The biggest thing that's different on this is that these flowers, all of these yellow flowers, are actually designed or charted in white with yellow centers. But because the fabric has a strong like yellowish tan model to it, unfortunately the white, and it's B5200, so it is a bright white, but it just, even in person, it shows up okay in person. On camera, in a photo, it doesn't show up at all, and it doesn't show up that well in person. And so I debated with myself about whether I wanted to backstitch it, and ended up deciding just to stitch it in yellow instead. So it is feeling very heavy on the yellow tones right now, and I'm going to change up a few other colors probably to help balance that out. But it is very summery, and I really like it. And so this has been quite fun to work on, and I'm enjoying it. So that is Seasons Summer. All right. So that's all we have for WIPs today. I have a little bit of haul to share with you, and then I'll talk with you a little bit about my trip and the stitching retreat. So as I mentioned, I did go to the stitching retreat. More to come on that. There were several really great shops there, and I went up and visited the shops multiple times, battled back and forth with myself because there were quite a few things that I really wanted to bring home with me. But I had very limited space in my luggage. As I said, I only ever travel with a carry-on, and so I just didn't have a lot of room to pick up extras to take home. I did treat myself, though, to a couple of scissors fobs. So Denkai Designs was there. Had some beautiful scissors fobs, some beautiful needle minders. And so I picked out some scissors fobs that I wanted because I've been wanting to fancy up my scissors for a while, and I found some that I really liked. So I got two fobs. So, and I've already put them on scissors. So this is the first one. Gorgeous black and gold and blue kind of big bead down here at the bottom. And then of course, color coordinating beads on down. The colors, and this is, I mean, this fob looks like it was made for these scissors. It wasn't, but they're perfect together. I really love it. I'm enjoying using this already. It's so pretty and it just makes me smile. So I got that. And then I got another fob, also so pretty. So kind of sort of more tonal, not quite pink, but kind of browns and golds with this beautiful seashell here at the bottom. So really, really pretty. And I'm so excited to have found something that I could bring home and some scissors fobs that I really, really loved. So I got those two. I also have some Stitchy kindness, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So globetrotting. As I said, I did go to London for work. I was there for a little over a week. And as soon as I knew that I was going to be going to London for work, many of you, if you've been watching my channel a while, you know that one of my favorite Flosstubers is Lynn. She's the Lancashire Stitcher. I talk about her channel quite frequently. And part of that is because she's been part of the Royal Holiday Stitch Along for a while. But part of it is I've been watching her channel ever since the first episode. And I just really enjoy her. I really enjoy everything she stitches on. And so when I knew I was going to be in the UK, I reached out to her and I said, would you be comfortable meeting? And she said yes. And so then as we kind of started working on dates and coordinating things, it turned out that the weekend before my meeting started, she was going to be at a retreat in Northampton. It's the No Bam retreat, the Not Only But Also Mirabilia retreat. And so she reached out to the organizer and they were able to find a spot for me to join for part of the retreat. I wasn't able to be there for all of it, but they made it possible for me to join the group for a bit of it. So it was really great. When I flew into London, I got on the train, got into central London, made a couple of little transitions on the tube, and then caught a train up to Northampton. And Lynn actually came and met me at the station in Northampton and drove me over to Sedgebrook Hall, which was where the retreat was being hosted. It was such a pleasure to meet Lynn. I have to tell you, she is just like she is in her videos. She was such a wonderful hostess. She made me feel so welcome. It was really just a pleasure to get to talk with her and talk about stitching, talk about what it's like to make Flosstube videos, talk about her rambling and all the beautiful hiking that she does in the UK, and just to get to know her a bit. It was such a pleasure, and she really made a special effort to make sure that, because I'm coming into my very first stitching retreat ever, into a room full of people I've never met and I don't know, and so she just really made a special effort to make sure that that I felt welcome, that I didn't feel left out. And she was so, so kind. She actually surprised me. So I mentioned that Denkai Designs was there and that she had beautiful needle minders. Denkai Designs had actually made some retreat specific needle minders. And so Lynn surprised me and she picked one of those up for me. And so now I have this really beautiful needle minder as a keepsake. And it's a really great quality needle minder. It's got a great hold and she uses these little buttons on the back, which makes them really easy to take on and off of your piece. But so sweet, so thoughtful. Thank you so much, Lynn. It was such a pleasure to meet you. And thank you so much for making sure I had a great time. Lynn, also one of the things that I was hoping we'd be able to do. So Lynn brought her royal holiday to the retreat. I brought mine, which I had just finished before I left. And so Lynn and I were able to get our picture taken together with our royal holiday ladies, which was a lot of fun for me. I really enjoyed that. One of the things that was really nice, as I said, this was my first retreat, and so I wasn't quite sure what to expect. It was very, very well organized, and everybody was super friendly and super welcoming. They really, it was really great, and it was really fun to meet some other Flosstubers. So in addition to Lynn, there were at least 3 other Flosstubers there who I got to meet, and I wanted to make sure to shout them out, so you can go check out their channels. There was Faye, and her channel is Fairy Floss. And Gina, Gina was one of the organizers, and she was at my table. And so it was really nice to get to know her a little bit. Her channel is Gina Stitches. And then there was also Anita, the Violet Stitcher. So please go check out their channels. But just everybody made me feel so welcome. You know, I'm not great with small talk, and I tend to be a little bit more of a quiet person in situations like that, especially where I don't know anybody. And people just made me feel so comfortable. You know, Lynn really went out of her way, but other people would just come up and they would chat and show their stuff and come see what I was working on. And it made me feel really comfortable just going around the room. It was primarily mirabilias and mirabilia stitching. There were some other things there, but there were so many beautiful mirabilias. So there was a really nice finish table, and I tried to get some pictures and video of all the beautiful finishes. And then there was a fully finished table where they did a competition. And, you know, even though I have stitched a number of mirabilias and lavender and lace designs over the years, even just when you're there in person and you're surrounded by so many beautiful projects, it just, you really begin to appreciate the photos, never do them justice. You really don't get the full impact of how beautiful these designs are unless you see them in person. And there was a lot of enabling that was going on. There were so many beautiful pieces, a lot of beautiful stitching, a lot of gorgeous fabrics. It was just such a treat. And it was really nice to just be able to get up. You know, I've heard other stitchers who go to retreats and say, I didn't really get any stitching done. And I'm always like, I don't understand. And I understand now, because you sit down and you get ready to stitch, but then you start talking to somebody, and then somebody comes up and you talk to them, and then you get up and you walk around the room and you look at what everybody's working on and you talk to people, and then you go up and you look at the shops, and you have to make at least 3 trips to the shops, and then you have to go look at all the, so it's a good time. I didn't get a lot of stitching done, and I don't regret it one bit. I so enjoyed myself. And met so many wonderful stitchers. So in addition to the other floss tubers, I got a chance to get to know, and I'm going to forget some names, and so I apologize, but Nolene, it was really great. Thank you so much for making me feel welcome and just spending time chatting with me. I got to meet Kate. She is the incredibly talented dyer who does sparklies fabrics, and her work is beautiful. I was at her table for dinner one night and so enjoyed getting to know her and chatting with her. There was Gretchen and Gabriela. And so just thank you to everybody who took the time to come and introduce themselves and chat with me and just make me feel like a part of the group. I really enjoyed it, and I cannot recommend retreats enough. It was a great experience and so much beautiful stitching. After the retreat, I went up to London and I was in meetings all week. And so it was a very, very busy week, a lot of really long days. But at the end of the week, I did end up having a little bit of spare time because I only had a few meetings. And so I got the afternoon to myself. And so I decided to treat myself to a nice long walk. So I walked over to Buckingham Palace and I walked through St. James Park and took some photos of the beautiful black swans there. And then I tootled my way on up to Hyde Park, which is huge, and walked all through Hyde Park, all the way up to the far end where Kensington Palace and Kensington Gardens are. And I had decided to take my stitching with me, and I was so pleased that I did, because I found a tree right in Kensington Gardens, right near the palace. And so I was able to set up shop under the tree and do some stitching right at the palace. And it was really fun. I mean, what a perfect place to stitch. So I had a really great time. Spring has definitely sprung in London. It was gorgeous weather, lots of beautiful flowers coming up. So I took a lot of pictures just wandering through the park because it was really, really pretty. So had a really great time. So yeah, I think that's kind of it. So I'm just going to wrap up quickly by talking about what we are going to be working on over the next couple of weeks. I am going to try and put in a couple more sessions on my season's summer design, my travel stitching. So we'll see what I'm able to get accomplished with that. I am also going to spend a week working on my Floralia sampler. It's far enough along. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it finished. There's too much stitching to do, but I think I can get it close to a finish. And so I'm excited to see how far I can get with that. And then I'm going to have a new start. I'm going to start a new Fancy Lady. This is something I've had in my stash for a long time, and I'm super excited to finally get started on it. I'm going to be doing Celtic Winter by Lavender and Lace. This is a very old chart. But I am actually going to do a pretty significant conversion on this design. So there are a couple of conversions that have been charted for like a cape cloak kind of look on the woman. And I'm going to be using one of those for her. And I'm doing a blue silver conversion rather than the white and gold. So I've got a great piece of fabric for that. And I'm really excited to finally be getting a start on it. Gary is also, I think, going to be doing some work on his Captain America. And so we'll see how far he's able to get making progress on page 2 now that he's finished with page 1. So I think that's it. I think that's everything for us. Thank you again so much for your patience. Thank you so much for coming to spend time with us. We really appreciate all of you that come back and share your progress with us and share your comments. So please feel free to leave a comment. Yeah, you're welcome to follow me on Instagram between videos. I'm globetrotting_Stitcher. And you can send me email to globetrottingstitcher@gmail.com. We hope that you will hit the thumbs up button and give us a like, which helps us get our videos to more Stitchers. And if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. Come back, hit the little bell so you get notifications. So happy stitching, happy spring, and we will look forward to seeing you soon. Take care for now. Bye-bye.